We live in a society where literally so much of what we've been taught and told and sold isn't always there, in my opinion, to benefit us, but it's often there, obviously, to generate a profit. And I am not saying that's a bad thing either. I've been a sales director my whole life. I've built an advertising department. Like, I've been on every single side of advertising and sales and all of that. And like, I get it. It's a good thing. And we in society are, as a direct result, programmed to believe or act on certain things because the messaging, the language around those things has been sold to us as a way for us to help generate profit. So I used to feel very behind in my life. I used to feel so anxious. I used to feel like I wasn't doing enough, like I wasn't enough, like I didn't have enough friends, like I was, I just had all these feelings I didn't understand for so long of anxiety. I was on antidepressants for a decade. I was, lonely. I used to always talk about being worried that people were going to forget about me. There was just so many things. And what I had to learn was that I was effectively being programmed by all of the different narratives that come in from all of the different outlets that I let myself be accessible to. And when I say program, like I don't mean like a conspiratorial thing. I literally mean like our brains are very malleable. Our brains are very soft, very powerful, but at the same time, our brains are not the full story. What consciousness researchers are figuring out these days is that while we always used to think that reality, came from our brain and all that our brain was kind of the main piece, the main story, it actually turns out that our brain, while it's very, important and powerful, may not be where reality comes from. It actually, they're finding, could be deeper than that our brain is somewhat of an antenna, but that it's our consciousness that is where our reality, our experience of life, our emotions, how our programming is done, where that comes from is from consciousness, potentially. And so it's interesting because what a lot of people are potentially finding is, we're like receivers. Our body is like full of receivers, full of like antennas, basically. Also, I don't know why right now the train just decided to start going off, but it is. Hopefully that's not annoying. We're covered in antennas, basically. And what I didn't understand for so long was that every outlet that I allowed to have access to me, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, text messages, emails, free emails, I work personal and business and other stuff like that. Telegram, I never got Instagram threads, but that's a thing. TikTok, never got that either, but that's a thing. Like right there, that's like 8 or 10 outlets. Just right there of all of the inputs that I was allowing to come to me. And what happens with those inputs is that companies are obviously trying to make money, which is fine and fair, but they are advertising to all of us on those platforms. And the way to make sales in any world is to first and foremost illuminate a problem. And then you go to solution, and then you go to the product. So in advertising, the way to approach things is to say like, oh, okay, here's a problem that one is experiencing in their life. Let's call this out. So every ad is always going to start out with like, here's the problem, here is your problem, highlighting, illuminating the problem. And then the solution just so happens to be the product. None of that is wrong, none of that is bad. But because I had so many access points to myself, the Facebook, the YouTube, the Instagram, whatever, I was receiving all of that input. And our bodies, they're like antennas. They're very powerful. They're receptors. They feel things. We feel things very energetically. And by giving so much access to all of those platforms, I was effectively creating static in my mind, in my life, because there was so much input. that I was receiving constantly. Let me see if I can get this line to go away here. Let's see if that worked. Kind of, yeah. So I had to learn that there is a real value to stopping with the input, stopping everything coming in and having access to me. Because on a real, like, fundamental consciousness level, what they are finding is that reality essentially comes from us, our mind, our consciousness, and it's deeper than just the brain. It's crazy. I was speaking with this guy, his name's Dean Radin. He's like one of the pioneers in consciousness research and parapsychology research. Really fascinating stuff. He's one of the guys who actually did the observer effect, if you're familiar with that in quantum physics. I interviewed him. I'll attach that link below because it's deeply fascinating. But he talks about how our actual reality, what we experience, what we see, what we feel in life, we're not just reacting to, it's coming through us, from us, and we're projecting it potentially into reality. So once I started to realize how many inputs I had to me that were basically programming me to think and feel and act in a certain way, talk in a certain way, feel like I had all these problems in my life because all these inputs have basic advertising attached to them. Once I started to let go a lot of those outlets and let those release and minimize the number of inputs, it was almost like my antenna, because we are like antennas, started to calm down, and that static, it's like that statically thing, input thing, started to get quieter and quieter and quieter. I didn't realize that I was truly being programmed by all of these like languages, these narratives that all of these outlets were projecting onto me. And it's not a bad thing. I'm a sales director. I love sales, but we live in a society where it's normal to have like 15 social medias and to be on social media. It's like, I don't remember what it was, but I think it was like the average social media time a day on Instagram, I think, is like 2 hours, which is crazy. That's 14 hours a week on average that people are spending just, and I used to do that. And that's just Instagram. Like, I think it's much more than that in just general social media. Then we have Netflix, then we have YouTube, then we have all of these outlets, all of which are programming our subconscious because our mind is impressionable. We are impressionable. And so, I used to wake up anxious. I used to wake up sad. I used to wake up crying. I used to wake up feeling like I was behind. Like, I think if you've ever felt those ways, you know what I'm talking about. It's literally all consuming. It's all you can think about when you feel like that. And then that's how my life kept showing me, my world kept showing me that too, and proving to me that I was those things, because that's all I was thinking about. And what we think about is literally like our atomic frequency. It's part of us, and we project that into reality. And so then it's like this self-fulfilling prophecy. If we think it, if we believe it, if we feel it, we project it, we get more of it. And then that just loops and loops, and that became my life. I had to recognize that let's just say, we're trying to figure it out, scientists are trying to figure it out, but let's just say if consciousness is fundamental, as Dean Radin was saying. I also spoke with Thomas Campbell, who's saying this, other consciousness researchers, quantum researchers. If it is, that means that anything I allow into my consciousness effectively programs my mind, my life, my reality, my belief system. And because of that, that creates an energetic field around me, and that's what my life effectively becomes. Learning to minimize the inputs and just recognize that I am being programmed by all these outlets. I am being programmed by all these inputs. I am, my mind, my like antenna, for lack of a better word, but I think it's a pretty good word, is affected by all of these inputs, and that they are trying to sell me things. Once I started to minimize all that, I was able to hear and feel actually myself. And I think the thing is too, at the end of the day, like, what I realized is we're all going to be programmed by something anyways. I've been programmed by my family's belief systems when I was little, can't help that. I was programmed by whatever my school put into me somewhat. I used to be programmed by the food system and just believe that eating processed foods was normal. I broke out of that. I used to believe that drinking alcohol was like fine and normal, and that it was weird if I stopped drinking. I was programmed to believe all these things, like so many things. Being programmed isn't inherently bad, I had to realize. I think we're constantly being programmed every single day, but once I realized I had the choice to either be programmed or program myself. And because all of these ads and all these things program us to believe that we're lacking something, my belief system was equal to lack. Once I minimized all of that and started actively thinking and acting and talking and believing in terms of frequencies, I started to really reprogram my mind into like positive anticipation, like into things work out for me, into recognizing the ways that I could make change, or that I was good, or that people do love me, all these things that I used to struggle with. I had to learn to get rid of all of the inputs from the antenna, all of the outlets, all of the things that were clouding my antenna, creating that static noise. Again, thinking in terms of frequencies, thinking in terms of consciousness. And I started to program myself. And as a result, it's like, okay, what's changed? What's changed in my life? Like literally everything has changed. That's the crazy thing. My life directly reflects that. I don't have that static noise anymore, I have the most amazing life. I am so grateful for it. I have the most amazing friends. I used to long for good friendships, long for it. And I have the most amazing friends. I no longer work at this company, but this company I was hired at a few years ago, best company I could have ever worked at, with the most amazing people, the most amazing boss and peers. It's like I just was dropped into that world. I live in the most amazing city. I have a podcast where I get to interview the most amazing, interesting people in the world. I'm healthy. I haven't had any antidepressants or anything for years. I coach on the carnivore lifestyle, as well as how to think in terms of frequencies. So that means I get to speak with amazing people about things that like really matter, I have these amazing guests that I bring on that are industry leaders. It's like, I'm not saying this to be braggadocious. I really don't want it to sound like that. It's more so that like, this came as a direct result of programming myself, learning that my focus truly matters, and minimizing the inputs. Because I realized that though our society is programmed to think it's normal to have all those inputs, I started to see that for me, that wasn't good. It was creating the static, and the static was creating bad emotions, and the bad emotions was creating the energy and the chemistry in my body that was projecting those bad emotions into reality and calling all those things in. And shifting that, minimizing the programming and learning to actually program myself and think and act and talk and believe in terms of frequencies, created that exact thing in me, but in the positive light, in the uplifting. Like, I have the most amazing life in the world, and I really believe in God. This has really showed me I believe that God is very real. The universe, I didn't used to believe that God was real, or that the universe, had my back, and now I very much do. And it's a direct result of learning to, again, reprogram myself and recognize all the ways that, my what is it saying? My back is it has my back. I don't know how to say that. Oops. This damn microphone wants to attract my necklaces. It's so annoying. Anyways, so minimizing things, learning that I can program myself, learning to think in terms of frequencies. It's crazy what these consciousness researchers are discovering and finding. It's deeper than what Einstein discussed, where everything was space-time matter. Even though he was, I feel like Einstein was just on it with things. He understood that imagination and our belief system was the fundamental of our reality, and that consciousness might actually be there. We didn't have a way to prove it. Now, these guys that I'm talking to are literally taking the data and the research to actually not only like hypothesize that consciousness is fundamental, but then actually show it. And I have the ability to affect my consciousness through how I choose to program myself. So anyways, I'm gonna go. It's literally such a gorgeous day. We've got all of these people coming. I don't know what's going on. It's like a walking group or something. But I'm gonna go now and get on with the day. I hope this helps. I hope that you are happy. And I'll see you on the next one. See ya.